Not long ago, we had a great railway show. Engines from all around the world came to the mainland to compete. I made some really good friends. But afterwards, they all had to go home. And right now, they are all traveling back. I wonder where they are now.
Great race friends near and far. The Great Railway Show had only just finished. Lots of trains were heading to the docks to get the boat home. Vinny and Gina were the first ones to arrive.
Beat you! Laughed Vinny. You know, I'm probably the strongest steam engine in the world.
Gina had had enough. She decided that she was going to teach Vinny a lesson. And when she saw Shane arrive, a plan started to form.
You say you're as strong, but I bet you're not even as strong as me. Ha! A little engine like you couldn't even pull my coal tender. Ha! Then let us have a tug of war. You're on.
But Gina was going to play a trick on Vinny. She went to see Shane.
Vinny doesn't think you are very strong. And he's challenged you to a tug of war. Bonza!
So Shane was coupled up to Vinny. But Vinny thought it was Gina that he was going to be tugging against.
Are you ready?
Gina called.
I'm ready! Be careful you don't break an axle! Go!
Shane and Vinny puffed and chuffed as hard as they could.
She's stronger than she looks.
They were both very strong, but their coupling wasn't strong enough for this tug of war.
Wah!
Yelled Vinny as he shot forward. Vinny went straight into the watermelon container.
Oh, no!
Gina and Shane couldn't help laughing.
Sorry, Vinny,
said Gina, but you were showing off.
That's okay, Tiny Trucks. You may not be stronger than me, but you're a lot smarter.
Ivan and Frida were on their way home from the great race. And wherever they went, people were always very excited about seeing Ivan. Hooray! It's Ivan! They cheered. Ivan the Super Shunter! But this made Frida very grumpy. She wanted them to be excited because she was there. Ivan can shunt, but he's not as strong or as fast as me, said Frida. So, Ivan, how did you do at the Great Railway Show? Said one man. Did you win the shunting competition? Said another. This made Frida so grumpy, she puffed away. Don't worry, said Ivan. I'm sure everyone is just as happy to see you. They will be, snapped Frida. Especially when we get to my home in Germany. But even when they got to Germany, it was Ivan who got all the cheers. Hello, everyone, said Ivan. So nice to meet you. This made Frida very unhappy. I don't understand, said Frida. Why is everyone so happy to see you, but not me? I think maybe it's 'cause I smile, said Ivan. But I smile, said Frida. Not so much, said Ivan. So the next morning, Ivan decided to teach Frida how to give her best smile. Bigger smile, said Ivan. And be cheerful, too. I think maybe you need to practice, said Ivan. Frida practiced smiling and being cheerful as they puffed through the German countryside. And when they arrived in the next town, everyone was happy to see Ivan and Frida. You know what, said Frida? I'm going to try to be cheerful all the time. Ah, good, said Ivan. A happy engine is a useful engine. Young Bao had a very long way to go to get back to their homes. They traveled across India together, and soon they were in the Himalayan mountains. The weather got colder and colder. Then it started to snow.
What's all this cold stuff falling from the sky?
It's just snow. Sometimes this happens when it gets very cold.
Bonza! I like it.
It does look very pretty, but you have to be very careful in the snow. It can make the tracks very slippery. Young Bao was right. The snow did make the tracks very slippery. But Shane liked it.
I reckon all this slippy stuff makes riding the rails just like surfing,
said Shane as he slid around a corner. Maybe it does, but engines don't surf.
You're right there, mate, but I've always wanted to give it a go. Cowabunga!
Woo-hoo-hoo! Slow down! Remember, the snow can be dangerous as well as fun. Then Shane reached the top of a very tall hill.
This is gonna be the best surf yet!
No, Shane! This is too tall and too steep. But it was too late.
Whoa, hey! Look at me, I'm surfing!
Shane went faster and faster. He went so fast, he started to get a little scared. But when he put his brakes on, he just kept going.
Help!
Young Bao puffed bravely down the hill, trying to rescue his friend. Then there was trouble. Shane crashed straight into a snowdrift.
Oh, wipe out!
Then Young Bao helped Shane out of the snowdrift.
Thanks, mate.
You were right. Snow can be dangerous as well as fun. Don't worry. I'll teach you to puff safely through the snow. The first lesson is go slow and steady. So Young Bao led the way through. Rajiv had just arrived back from the Great Railway Show. He couldn't wait to show everyone his trophy. Hi everyone, I'm back! But there was no one there. Rajiv looked around the goods yard. Then he looked in the sheds. Where has everybody gone? I really wanted to show off my trophy. Then Rajiv saw one of the railway workers coming towards him. I've just got back, began Rajiv. But the railway worker was in too much of a hurry to listen. You're needed at the city centre station right away. And then he ran away. How strange, said Rajiv, who was beginning to feel a bit sad. So Rajiv puffed to the city centre station. No one is interested in seeing my trophy. I was the best decorated engine in the whole of the Great Railway Show. And now they probably just want me to collect some coal. But when Rajiv was near the city centre station, he found a man waiting for him. Are you Rajiv? Yes. The same Rajiv that won the best decorated engine competition at the Great Railway Show? That's me. Then take me to the station right away, please. Rajiv was very puzzled. Rajiv took the man to the city centre. But before he got there, he discovered a huge crowd waiting for him.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the champion engine from the Great Railway Show, the best decorated engine in the world, Rajiv!
Everyone started to cheer. Rajiv was very happy. It was the proudest Rajiv had ever been. Maybe I'll go back next year and try to... It was a hot, sunny day when Carlos and Raul arrived in Mexico. Carlos was nearly home, but Raul still had a long way to go to get to Brazil. But then, Raoul saw something that made him feel at home. "Ah, soccer fans," said Raoul. "There is nothing more Brazilian than soccer fans." "We like soccer in Mexico, too," said Carlos.
Maybe, but not as much as in Brazil. Carlos thought Raoul was wrong. But before he could say anything, he was interrupted by a fan.
"Hey, can you take us to the soccer match?"
Yeah, it's a long way to go and we missed our train.
The two engines agreed to take the fans. But then Carlos had an idea.
I bet I can get my fans to the stadium before you.
Pah! No one beats a Brazilian engine to a soccer match. Carlos and Raoul raced towards the stadium station. Raoul was taking all the Brazilian fans and Carlos was taking all of the Mexican fans. Every time one of them was in the lead, the other managed to race past him. The fans sang songs as Carlos and Raoul went faster and faster. And when they got to the stadium, it was a draw.
But you've taken us to the wrong stadium,
said one of the fans angrily.
This is where they play baseball.
Uh-oh, said Carlos and Raoul.
We were in such a rush, we forgot to check where we were going.
But the match was about to start. Carlos and Raoul raced to the soccer stadium. And this time, they puffed faster than they had ever puffed before. It didn't matter who got there first. They just wanted to get their passengers to the soccer match on time.
Hooray! Cheered the fans. You got us to the match on time.
Carlos and Raoul waited to take the fans home again. Maybe you do like soccer in Mexico nearly as much as we do in Brazil. I think Mexicans and Brazilians like soccer just as much as each other. It had been a long voyage. At last, Vinny was back in America. Vinny still had a long way to go before he was home. But as he was setting off from the docks, the dockmaster came to see him.
We've got some cars here that you need to take with you to the big city.
No problem. You line them up and I'll pull them.
So the dockyard engines shunted the cars into a line, ready for Vinny.
Is that all there is? I'm one of the strongest engines in the world. I could pull that much in my sleep. I could pull that much with a broken wheel. I could pull that much.
We get the message,
said one of the little engines. The little engines at the docks didn't like Vinny's boasting, so they decided to teach him a lesson.
Don't go yet, Vinny. Seeing as you can take so many cars, here's a few more you can take.
So the little engines shunted lots and lots of cars into a long line. There were cars full of rocks and cars full of timber. There were cars full of fruit and vegetables. There was even a car full of cows.
There you go, Vinny. Take that to the big city.
Yeah, no problem.
So Vinny backed up to the long line of cars and started to pull. Vinny puffed as hard as he could. He growled as he pulled. Pull, 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 laughed the little engines. Vinny puffed harder and harder, but he couldn't move the long line of cars.
Maybe I should leave some of these cars for you guys. I wouldn't want to be the only engine that was really useful.
Okay, Vinny. Whatever you say.
So the little engines shunted some of the cars away.
There you go, Vinny.
That's great. I'm glad I could do you all a favor.
The little engines chuckled. They knew that Vinny felt a bit silly for showing off. Etienne and Axel were puffing through France on their way home. But Etienne was showing off.
You see, I am the fastest engine there has ever been,
said Etienne.
and I'm quiet too.
Really, said Axel.
You see, with an electric engine, this is no clinking and clanking, and the chopping and the puffing. Just the smooth wheels on the rails.
Axel was starting to wish he was on his own. But then Etienne and Axel arrived at a station. The station master was very pleased to see them.
I'm glad you're here. I have lots of passengers that need to be taken to the mountains, and their train has broken down.
Don't you worry. I am the fastest engine in the world. I will get your passengers to the mountains before you can say Mont Blanc.
But you can't take them. You're an electric engine, and there are no electric cables on the mountain tracks.
It looks like I'm the engine for this job. As long as your passengers don't mind a bit of chuffing and puffing.
Of course we don't, cheered all the passengers.
You might be fast when you have electric cables, Etienne, but only steam can get you into these mountains.
Soon Axel was on his way through the mountains. He was enjoying the peace and quiet. It wasn't long before Axel arrived at the mountain station. "Thank you," said his passengers. But as Axel puffed back through the mountains, he started to feel a little lonely.
I kind of miss Etienne's boasting. And I bet he would like to see the mountains.
When Axel arrived back, he could see that Etienne was unhappy. "How did you like the mountains?"
They were very beautiful. Would you like to see them?
"But there are no electric cables for me in the mountains."
Haha, maybe not, but a friendly steam engine could show you anyway.
So Axel buffered up behind Etienne and pushed him along the tracks. "You know, I think steam engines might be nearly as good as electric engines after all." Ashima and Rajiv had a long way to go to get home. And on their way back to India, they had to go through Austria. As Ashima and Rajiv puffed into the Austrian mountains, the tracks got very steep. Rajiv didn't like going through the mountain railways. He had never been so high up before. But Ashima liked mountains. They reminded her of home. Ashima and Rajiv soon came to a bridge. "Whoa, I don't like the look of that," said Rajiv. "What's the matter with it?" asked Ashima. "It's very high up, and I don't like being high up." "But we have to cross it," said Ashima. "It's the way home. Come on." Ashima started to cross the bridge. "I can't look." So Ashima came back again. "Don't worry, Rajiv. The Nilgiri Railway where I work has the steepest hills and the highest bridges you can imagine. I'm not sure how that helps me. I tell you what, you close your eyes and I'll make sure you get safely through the mountains." So Ashima coupled up to Rajiv. "Now keep your eyes closed." "Don't worry about that. I will." So Ashima pulled Rajiv slowly and carefully across the bridge and further into the mountains. Ashima loved puffing along the winding tracks. It was colder than her railway in India, but the tunnels, trees and high bridges were just like the Nilgiri Railway. "We're at the top now, Rajiv. Don't you want to see?" Being this high up made Rajiv a little scared, but he did want to see what it looked like being so high up in the mountains. Rajiv thought it was the most magnificent sight he had ever seen. He could see the trees and the mountains, and the houses were so far away, they looked like tiny little boxes. Maybe heights aren't so scary after all, as long as you have a friend to look after you. Raoul had traveled for a long time to get home, but now he was finally back in Brazil. Raoul loved the rainforests. He loved seeing all the trees and hearing the call of the birds. But most of all, Raoul loved to see the Brazil nut trees. Brazil nut trees grow to be very old. They grow very tall and they produce a delicious nut. Raoul was very happy to be home. But when Raoul arrived at the station, he met some very unhappy holidaymakers. "What's the matter?" Raoul asked. "We've come to Brazil to see all the monkeys in the rainforest.
But so far, we haven't seen one, said one of the holidaymakers. I bet I can show you lots of monkeys, said Raoul. Jump on board. So the holidaymakers climbed into Raoul's carriages. Raoul puffed slowly through the rainforests. But the holidaymakers still couldn't see any monkeys. I need to find some monkeys for the holidaymakers, but they all seem to be hiding. Then, Raoul saw the Brazil nut tree. And when he saw a Brazil nut fall from the tree, he had an idea. Everyone, come and see this tree. It's a very nice tree, but there aren't any monkeys in it. We wanted to see some monkeys. And you will. Gather up all the nuts that fall off this tree and put them in my back car. So the holidaymakers gathered up all the Brazil nuts they could find, and they put them into Raoul's car. Raoul puffed slowly through the rainforests. And it wasn't long before the monkeys spotted the Brazil nuts. Soon Raoul's car was full of little monkeys eating the nuts. Raoul stopped so that the holidaymakers could all get pictures of the monkeys. Thank you, Raoul, cheered the holidaymakers. Don't thank me, just thank the Brazil nut tree. Etienne had just left the great railway show. He was on his way to catch a boat to France. But before he went to the docks, Etienne decided that it would be nice to visit London, the capital city of England. Etienne thought about Big Ben and Tower Bridge and all the city lights. To London, said Etienne, and he raced ahead. As he got closer to the city, Etienne couldn't wait to get to London. It won't be long till I see the sights, he said. Soon, Etienne pulled into a station. Which way to Big Ben? The station master pointed into the distance. It's over there, he said. You can see the top of it sticking up over the other buildings. So Etienne headed for Big Ben. But every time he thought he was getting closer, the tracks took him away. At last, Etienne ended up back at the same station. I keep trying to see Big Ben, but the tracks keep taking me away again. The station master looked at a railway map. I can see the problem. None of the tracks go to Big Ben. I don't think a train can go there. But I have come all the way to England. I will never see the sights of London. So Etienne pulled slowly away.
I will just go and catch my boat.
Etienne was very sad. But as Etienne traveled to the coast, he went across a bridge. And as he crossed the bridge, he saw a most wonderful sight. Tower Bridge and the Tower of London. They looked magnificent. Etienne was very happy. The next morning, Etienne arrived at the docks, ready to catch his boat home. But he was still thinking about the sights of London and the city lights. Yong Bao was puffing through the Swiss Alps on his way back to China. He had to go through lots of tunnels and over lots of bridges. He loved all the sights and all the sounds, especially the sounds of the mountain goats. But as he arrived at a beautiful alpine station, he found some confusion and delay. What's the matter? Asked Yong Bao. None of the engines will go through the tunnel, said the station master, so my passengers can't get home. There's a monster in the tunnel, said one of the little engines. And he's making scary noises, said the other. Yong Bao knew that he had to go through the tunnel to get home. Why don't I go and have a look, he said, and he put his lights on. Yong Bao puffed slowly into the tunnel. He could hear a very strange noise. That does sound very scary. Maybe there is a monster in here. But he puffed bravely on.
Young Bao saw strange shapes and shadows. And the further in he went, the louder the noise became. I know that noise. And at last, he could see what was making the noise. It was a mountain goat. The goat was very pleased to see Young Bao.
Follow my lights, Mr. Goat.
Young Bao puffed slowly back through the tunnel, and the goat followed him until they reached daylight.
Here's your monster,
Chuckled Young Bao. The engines were very surprised to see a mountain goat clopping out of the tunnel. Everyone was very happy that it wasn't a monster, and they all gave Young Bao a great big cheer.
Thank you, Young Bao,
Said the little engine.
Now we can all go through the tunnel. And we can all go home.
Said the passengers. So Young Bao led the way through the tunnel and continued on his way to China.
Ivan raced through the snowy Russian countryside. As the wind got colder and the snow got deeper, he knew he was nearly home. But then Ivan met a very chilly-looking little steam engine.
What are you waiting here for?
Ivan asked. The coal delivery didn't arrive, so I couldn't fill up, and now I'm stuck because I've run out of coal, said the engine.
Don't worry. I've got a whole tank full of diesel. I can push you to the next station. Then I'll go and collect some coal for you.
So Ivan buffered up behind the little steam engine and pushed him towards the next station. But then Ivan found a big steam engine that had run out of coal too. And this one had some very cold passengers on board.
Don't worry. I still have half a tank of diesel fuel. I'll take you both to the next station.
Are you sure?
Said the big steam engine.
I'll be very heavy, especially with all my passengers.
The big engine was right. He was very heavy, but Ivan pushed as hard as he could, and soon his wheels started to turn.
Hooray! Well done, Ivan!
So Ivan took the two steam engines all the way to the next station. Then Ivan raced off to collect some coal.
Those steamies will soon be on the move again.
Ivan took the coal to the engines that were waiting at the station. The steam engines were soon as warm as toast and ready to puff again.
Thank you. You're welcome. Now I'll be on my way.
But Ivan didn't move.
Oh dear, I've run out of diesel fuel.
Don't worry. I've got some coal now. I can take you to the fueling depot. So the little steam engine pushed Ivan all the way to the fueling depot.
Thank you. It seems that steam engines and diesel engines can always help each other.
I hope all my friends are having a fun journey, and I hope I see them again one day.